Geri Habstritt and my co-host, Patty Peterson, are medical intuitives, Avesa quantum healers, and hosts of Light, Laughter, and Lattes. So we are so glad to be with you all here today on this day after the new it was an illuminated moon. It was.
Yes. Yes.
A new illuminated moon. And we're glad to have you all here because the energy is new and it's creating and it's exciting if your focus is on the right thing. And so hopefully with our topic today, we can add a little perspective on what's going on in this world right now. I'm sure you're all seeing and noticing the shifts that have recently happened, and there's a lot of kind of upheaval and energy over that. So we're offering our perspective and our discussion, and hopefully going to help you see things maybe a little differently if you already aren't. And if you are here live with us, please jump in the chat and say hi. We would love to have you a part of our conversation, or at least know you're there. And we also have our call board open today as well. And so I'll put up the number on the bottom. I think it goes on the bottom. Yes, perfect. There's the number. So you are welcome to call in and ask your questions, and also join if you choose to do so that way. Okay, so the title of the show today is the masculine energy having a hissy fit.
And it won't be the first time. Right?
Yes. Yes. Well, this masculine energy has dominated for so many years. So many years. Patty, you want to add to this?
Thousands, right? The patriarchy, yes. I'd love to hear when was the last time we were more in balance with the divine feminine and the masculine. I personally don't know. I just know, the remembrances and the what we know of some of the history going back to when the Essene were here during Yeshua's time. That's when the patriarchy was very much came in.
Right. Well, at some point in our history, it was a matriarch society, right? And then
Yes.
it turned to a patriarch, and it's been so dominant, and we've been bringing in this feminine energy for the last few years. We've been talking about it profoundly and actively working on it. And I don't think everyone totally understands when we say masculine and feminine. We don't necessarily mean female and male, right?
Right. Yes. That we all, no matter what our gender, carry both. Right. And that, and yet more of, if we chose to come in as the feminine at this time to help in this evolution, in this anchoring of more of the divine feminine. Yet we all have some masculine too. And that's where I've witnessed through even my lifetime where some women can go too much into their masculine and, be out of balance. So we'll go more into that later. So go ahead, Jer.
Right. Well, no, I think it would be helpful if we shared for people, what is the masculine energy? What does that look like? And what is the feminine energy? And what does that look like? And what are they what happens when they're out of balance, right?
Exactly. Yes. So I know, like more masculine coming out of me is when I'm more the controlling. I mean, the good part is it's more of a do, right? A do energy, I guess I'd say. But if it's too much of this controlling, that's out of balance.
Right. And the feminine energy is more heart-centered, more intuitive, less brainy, less in the head, more of the compassionate, nurturing energy,
yes.
right? And the masculine is a little bit more brainy, a little bit more taking action, a little bit, like you said, a little bit more controlling.
Decisive can be a masculine trait. a little more clear purpose sometimes is one of the places I've seen saying, this is more of a sacred masculine, how they would be
Mm-hmm.
holding space really well. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. So ideally, we want a balance, right? So ideally, we would have people acting, or I'll talk personally for me, right? I would be acting from my intuition, using my heart, but taking action steps forward that are guided through intuition, not the mind, and
Yes.
having good, clear boundaries as I do this that serve the highest for me and my physical body. So, and the masculine energy tends to have good boundaries, you know?
Yes.
And so
Yes.
the feminine energy in its imbalanced state tends to be like a doormat, doing
That's
for
it.
everyone else and not doing for the self. And they tend to
Yep.
get stepped on, and they tend to
Mhm.
get taken advantage of, and they tend to end
Mhm.
up as a victim.
Yes. Codependent. Yeah. Always like apologizing, over explaining, things like that can be very. And I remember Archangel Zadkiel saying in one of the ensoulments discourses some time ago about how the divine feminine on our planet got so out of balance that we're more in martyr. And that was never how a divine feminine is meant to be. And some of us can see that in our own lineages. What did we witness, and what are some of the traits that have been there, how we understood the feminine, until we get the opportunities to wake up to, oh, what is truly more of a balanced feminine, like you're saying.
Right. Well, I think the biggest noticing for me, because I was a very imbalanced feminine. I had, too much feminine energy and not enough masculine, and my boundaries weren't great. And so that was a huge part of my experience, where it did turn into, victim consciousness, where I was the doormat, where I just
Yes.
was so nice, did everything for everyone else, and I did not much for me. And I was
That
okay doing
super
it.
mom, that super mom
Yes.
stereotype, right? Oh, you were. I mean, as far as all these elaborate meals and taking the kids everywhere and taking care of business, and oh my gosh. I
Right.
played much of it too.
Oh, and many women do. And so
Yes.
then you start learning, well, you need to bring your masculine energy and you need to be in balance. You need to put up boundaries. And then there's this feeling that this energy of balance and empowered feminine got manipulated into sounding like bitchiness or
Yes.
selfishness,
Yes.
right? If you speak up your boundaries, now you're a bitch. And if
Uh-huh.
you take care of you first, now you're selfish.
Very
Right.
selfish. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And how do we stand up when somebody says that to us? In the wounded feminine or the imbalanced, we'd crumble and over apologize and overdo. But as we develop this empowered feminine, we can see the value. Know our value, right? And be more clear about our boundaries and what's so important, that as we take care of this, everybody benefits, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Um, and especially, well, everyone, but especially too, if you're a lineage holder as well, and chances are, if you're watching this show, you probably are. As you do this work to bring yourself into balance, you are bringing millions of people with you in your lineage, forwards and backwards. And so, as you say yes to yourself, you are actually helping everyone else, behind you and in front
That's
of you.
yes, yes, huge, beyond what our mind knows, the healing that goes.
Yes.
Yes. I remember one of my first steps as a single mom with these 6 kids, and I started to say we all need to be a part of this team. These boys in the middle, I'm saying you need to help, because truthfully, if I overdo, you're the ones that suffer. Right? I'm out of balance, then I get crabbier or I get sick or whatever. And so how much, that, so starting to notice in our own home what brings in more of the balance.
Right, right. And I remember that being my biggest frustration when I was married, that it was so out of balance. I was doing 95% of the work, and that's not even a stretch. And there was times when finally I would get pushed to my limit where I would explode and say, "Can you just help?" And then I would
Yeah.
get. And so I think that's what happens as well when you're that out of balance, is it
Hmm.
brings on, anger and
Oh,
resentment.
repressed resentment. Let's talk about eat away at the liver and the gallbladder or the, other tissues. Yes, you're right. And yet how many of us then might have, repressed that resentment because it's not nice for a woman to express anger, or, a
Right.
society that there's a whole, judgments around healthy anger. So,
Right. Right.
mhm.
Yeah, I know the masculine energy in my household wasn't happy when I stood up and said, "Would you just help?" That
Yes.
didn't go over well. And that really ties into, right, the title of the show, the masculine
Hmm.
energy,
Hmm.
having a
Yep.
hissy fit. So how I see it, and I see this is really interesting because, as you know, I just got back from Mexico, Merida. There was a group of us, mainly women. There was 20 of us in total, 19 women and one very balanced male. And we went to some sacred places, and we went to places where there was lots of powerful energy. So when you take all of these people whose intent was to be of highest service, and many of us didn't even know what that highest service was. We just were felt the call that we needed to go. We trusted our souls, and collectively we went together. And what we were really doing is offering that feminine balance to these places of lots of power and masculine energy that needed it. And there was so many times where we all came together in groups where even that one male wasn't even really allowed. And I shouldn't say allowed, but he got called off to do masculine stuff.
Yeah.
And we found that it was just us women there.
Yes.
And we ended up at one of the a convent where, and this wasn't even on the agenda, where the Mother Mary was literally front and center. And you don't see that very often in a Catholic church where it's the honoring of the Mary. So
Mhm.
again, we had this feminine presence, coming to us, showing us that we need this feminine energy. We need this balance of the feminine power. And and I find it really fascinating that literally the day we were getting ready to go on this journey, that is when they met for the Roe versus Wade issue. So, and the minute we were done with our experience and we were on our way home, literally the day we were done, is when they made the decision to overturn the Roe versus Wade. And this caused I don't follow the news, but I do look on Facebook because I have so many. My Facebook is a place of joy. Usually it's funny stuff, fun. It can be a happy place for me because I don't
Yes.
allow anything in other than that,
Right.
right?
Hide all those. And yes, I mainly have inspirational people that, yes. Hmm. Go ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm seeing all the posts coming up around this, and I know you're all seeing it as well because I believe it's unavoidable. I don't think it's just me that's seeing this.
Yeah.
And it has really stirred the pot in people bringing up things around religion, politics, and it's just like another way that people are starting to separate.
Yeah.
And I see it a little differently. I see it as, like, we all know that all energy is self-sustaining, right? All energy wants to be sustained, and especially this masculine energy, because it's been the main energy
Right.
that's been ruling the
Right.
planet for so
Yeah.
long.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
my sense is that we've been seeing the feminine rising for a while now, right? Been watching
Mm-hmm.
women step up into power.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes, we
In many different circles and different groups. Oh, I'm really seeing that. Mm-hmm.
and more women are stepping out and speaking. You and I
Right.
weren't doing this years ago,
No.
right? And in so many and we've there's more women running for offices that weren't normally doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so
Absolutely.
this feminine energy is on the rise, and I believe we are really close to balance on this.
Mm-hmm.
And the masculine energy is saying, it's flexing its muscles. It's saying, no, no, I don't want this to happen. I don't want to let go of my power and my control. So, boom, we're going to do this. We're going to come in and we are going to take away the one thing from women that they can do that we can't do.
Ah,
Do you have a perspective
that,
on that,
yeah. Well,
Patty?
that's a good point. Yep. And yeah, and I just think, also, and it might be a little off, but as far as so many things have to crumble, right, for the new to emerge.
Sure.
And then how many of our systems are going to do that? And how is it that we perceive that?
Exactly. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So what you're seeing, okay, go ahead.
No,
On as far as even on Facebook, you were saying, then what were you seeing there?
well, I'm seeing people, really taking sides, throwing
Mm-hmm.
up throwing up articles, things of the Bible, right? And
Yep.
and
Mm-hmm.
um what part does the government supposed to play in our personal rights with our bodies? And
Mm-hmm.
people are taking sides and they're separating on this.
Right. Right. Greater polarity again. I mean, we saw
Right.
this so much through the political race here in the United States, and it hasn't ended. But then through the whole COVID, we saw this. And here's another instance, right? That coming up and creating this greater separation, polarity, and then how are we responding?
Exactly, exactly. And I'm feeling like, hey guys, this is a positive thing. The male
Mm-hmm.
energy, which is being reflected as our government, is actually scared of this feminine energy rising. So that's why they have to flex their muscles to show that they're still in power. They're scared about what is happening. So if they weren't in that fear and situation, they wouldn't have done this.
Right. Things would have stayed more status quo. Right.
things would have
Yes.
things would have stayed the
Mm-hmm.
same. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, yay, yay, the feminine energy is rising. It's doing its thing. This is a sign of good work on our behalf. So celebrate.
Evolution. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for each of us, even if we may feel triggered, noticing, well, where am I putting my focus? Because energy, goes wherever our intention focuses. So as soon as we get angry and blame or judgment, we're adding to that. We're not helping the positive to rise. We're creating more of that planetary soup of judgment.
Right.
And and seeing a lot of then what was hate? I mean, no, I mean, um, anger plus judgment equals hate, right?
Right. Right.
Yes, that coming out too, Kim. I'm
Right.
seeing
Well,
so.
and that's why I felt it was so important to do this show, to talk about the positive aspect of this, because
Mhm.
people can people often don't see the higher perspective of things. Even the aspect of abortion itself. There's some babies, that the souls that only need to come into to the mother for a very little amount of time so that the mother receives the energy from that soul, and that soul maybe only need that limited energy from the mother. And that's a higher perspective than most people are even aware of. So if you have that awareness, that might even change your whole perspective on
Right.
abortion, right? So it's
Mhm.
most everything isn't as it seems. There's always a deeper meaning for
Right.
everything.
Right.
And our planet right now is in an imbalance. I mean, not only the feminine and masculine, but imbalance light versus dark, meaning, those that are holding a very high frequency and those that are in a low frequency, and anger will bring you down into that low frequency. And if enough people focus their energy on the anger and the frustration and the, you know, that could send us tipping. And that's what we
Right.
don't want.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So many times it takes something fairly big, for us to take the opportunity to open to something new, a new way, a new, it often has to hit us some way, something. And then
Right.
we're ready to say, okay. And yet that takes a certain amount of paying attention to your soul's journey and awakening to do that.
Right. Right. And, let's talk about all the things that we can do, right? There's a number of
Mm-hmm.
things we can do. Even if you are feeling anger around this and you don't know how to, maybe this idea of feminine masculine balance is outrageous for you. Which I don't think it is. My daughter very easily said, yes, that makes sense to me. So um,
Yeah, at least in my lifetime now, in these last years, you hear so much more about it. It is more front and center than it used to be, right?
mhm, right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's a number of things that we all can do. You have some ideas?
Yeah, well, as far as you mean balancing our divine feminine, or how we're
Mhm.
looking at, well, I mean, just number one, being more aware of where's my focus? Am I feeling that I'm being wronged here? Am I, falling into this? What in me invited this to be? What is it I might have an opportunity to learn or grow through here? Can we, one thing that came to my mind this recently, as because many of us have family members and friends that have very different perspectives, whether it is the politics, the religion, or, this issue. And it's like, what would it take for us to be able to sit together and share a meal and not be in the contentious or needing to push our agenda on another, to be in that harmony together, seeing the highest in each one of us. And so that was part of my practice through this, some opportunities, like how can I, even if I have such different beliefs than them, come together and see the goodness and be in a state of joy, upliftment, peace.
Right, right. There's a couple of things that I will often do when I'm in that situation. And one is
Mhm.
I will try offer them the higher perspective of it. Like, look
Mhm.
where you're adding your energy. You're adding it to that which you
Mhm.
don't want. And if
Mhm.
they can't accept that, or they like, "Mm," what is this mumbo jumbo you're talking about?
Yeah.
I'll change the subject quickly, like, "Oh, look at this fun
Mhm.
thing," or look at here,
Yes.
and I'll show
Yeah.
them something, or let's play a game. Or I will try turn it around to something else. And if they still
Yes.
don't get
Absolutely.
it, I will often throw up a, "I'm not talking about that. I
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
doing that." Because you have
Mhm.
we it's necessary to be aware of your energy and what it's doing, and
Mhm.
that's a boundary.
Very good. Absolutely. Yes. If somebody isn't honoring that and they keep on, then yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing your truth. However, I need to leave now because you haven't been able to. honor where I'm at.
Right.
I've had that in the past too, right? And go ahead. I lost the other train of thought.
Oh, that's okay. And some of the other things we can do is to keep calling that feminine energy back into balance. And it might be as simple as setting that as an intention. I command my feminine energy, my masculine and feminine energy into perfect balance. And by setting that intention, it will bring to you the awareness of where you're out of balance.
Opportunities. Opportunities, absolutely.
Right.
Yes. Another piece that comes to my mind now around the feminine is that receiving side, right? The receiving side. If we're too much in that giving, doing, that is an out of balance too. And
Right.
so becoming more aware, oh, how am I receiving from the divine, from others, from myself, to help bring more of that in too? That's been a piece, because again, that ties to how we've often seen, women, especially mothers, and the doing and the overdoing. So paying attention to how we're receiving to be more in balance, with imbalance being doing, giving, receiving.
Right, right. The women doing the giving to whoever and not as much of the receiving for themselves. And
Right.
and I think about it as if this is how I think about it. So I think about a mother bear and her cubs. What wouldn't a mother bear do for her cubs? I mean, a mother bear will fiercely protect her cubs. And if I go back to me when I had little kids, I was a mother bear. I would have done anything to fiercely protect them. I would have said things I normally wouldn't have said. I would have standed up or stood up. Let's do that. If something happened at the school that didn't seem right to me, or at the Sunday school they were going to, I would be the first one to call and say, what is it you're doing here? We need to fix this, right? But yet I didn't apply that to myself.
Ourselves. Yes, true.
Right?
I mean, I see
Yeah,
my
so
life.
we need to be that mother bear for ourselves to protect our energy fiercely, right? And I'm
Yeah.
talking to the men out there too, who I know people, I know, lots of men who have a lot of feminine energy, and they would be considered too nice, right?
Yes.
Always doing
Yes.
for everyone else, just too nice, can't say no. Ask
Mm-hmm.
ask this guy, he'll do it for you, and they spend their whole time doing for other people and they don't get anything. That would be the imbalanced feminine energy, too much
Mm-hmm.
feminine out of balance, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I would say be that mother bear for yourself, do what for yourself what you would do for your children.
Good point. Very good point. Yes. Another aspect to bring forward, whether it's male or female, is that the creation energy, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like creating and being more aware. How am I creating? Bringing That's the whole, the womb, the reproductive, and being more aware of everything's a creation in our life, and
Mhm.
what kind of energy am I bringing to that, and how aware am I, and how am I, what I need to help birth this.
Right, right. And isn't it fascinating how the male energy chose to show its dominance over the female creation, the power of the female's creation energy,
Energy.
right?
Yes.
Right.
On a
I'll,
perspective.
I'll let you birth this dream, but we're not going to give you the choice anymore to whether you're going to deliver the
Mm-hmm.
dream or not.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the male can help with this dream. They can create their own dreams as well, and they can birth them as well, but they do it on an energetic level. We literally have such power of creation that we were given the organs of creation, and the male can help deliver the dream, but the woman's job is literally to nurture it and then to ultimately decide if we want to give birth to it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the one
Mm-hmm.
thing the masculine energy can't do. And it's like, we're going to take that one superpower you guys have, and we're not going to let you have it anymore.
Exactly. Yes, on an ascended perspective of what that organ is all about. Yes, that is very good.
So just a reminder, nobody can take that away from you. Nobody. I mean,
Yeah.
no matter what, we always have that power of creation, and we always have the power to decide, that babies are just a physical manifestation of that gift.
Yes.
On a deeper level,
No
that can't be
control.
taken
Right.
away.
Right. Nobody controls your creation, your womb, your right. Yeah. Yes. What else comes forward for bringing in that divine balance?
Well, of course, the boundaries,
Yes.
being really, really good with boundaries, especially for the females, or the not even the females, for that feminine energy, being really clear and good about boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I find that becoming aware, some of us may hold old traumas around maybe the feminine or the masculine, depending on what we grew up with, that inner child aspect of us and how we saw these role and what we took on. So there, I know there's some women that have a very much of a they don't trust the masculine at all. And
Right.
so, looking closer at where might we have, and some of those us have been very wounded by masculine, and to take an opportunity, and these wounds can hold in our tissues, and often it's in that reproductive area when we've been harmed. I know for myself that was it. Some very inappropriate sexual trauma from an older man when I was a younger child, right? And then this hurt in the womb, creating fibroids and things like that. Until then, I was able to heal all of those wounds. I didn't need, I was able to have a much more healthy reproductive womb creation center. It wasn't all the time bleeding out, which is, losing your joy because
Right.
there's so much old trauma and wound in there. Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
So,
Yeah, definitely. There's the healing, the self-healing will help bring all of that back into balance. And forgiveness.
mm-hmm.
Forgiveness is a huge, huge piece of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Very, very true. Just as a male, or masculine, might have toward the feminine. Again, like, some of the things you mentioned earlier
Right.
around how it's perceived. Mm-hmm.
So there is, rather than using the energy, so you can do a number of things to help bring yourself into balance, to bring your masculine and feminine energy into balance, right? Giving and receiving, watching it, making sure to stay in balance, and having the good boundaries, acting from your heart, right? Going to your heart first with discernment and taking action, passionate action, not activism. there's a big difference. Activism has an anger behind it. You did me wrong, you
Somebody's
did
still
this wrong,
wrong.
so
Yep.
I'm going to react
Mm-hmm.
based upon this,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And nothing is going to be healed at the same level of consciousness that created it.
That's it. That is such a good reminder. We need, lift and raise that level of consciousness in order to bring in the change, the healing. Absolutely.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm so reminded right now. I don't know if you watched The Hunger Games.
I did not. I just
Is-
knew I have a hard time with those type of movies.
Okay, so
Okay.
when my daughter, especially, she was probably sixth grade, and her age, that whole group is when that series of books came out. And
Yes.
I was watching all these really light, bright, brilliant, creative kids carrying around these Hunger Games books. And I asked my daughter, I'm like, isn't this about, kids killing other kids, teenagers? Yes. And I thought, why are they so passionate about this? This just felt so wrong to me. So I went
Mm-hmm.
to the movie with my kids just to see what all the hubbub was all about. And after watching the movie, I thought, oh my God, I didn't know what to think. I had to sit and fester in it for a few days
For a
to
while.
to
Mm-hmm.
really, what is this all about? And just recently, I mean, I knew at the time that this generation was being prepared for something. That was my only knowing, is that they were being prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And today it was the realization is like, it's here. This is it. The gist of the story is that these teenagers are out literally killing each other, fighting each other, but they're in a matrix that was being controlled by the government. And so the government was manipulating the matrix. Well, at some point, they discover, the whole thing was remember who the enemy is. And once they realized that the matrix was being manipulated, they came together and they were able to heal the illusion, right? And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing right now that we are in the Hunger Games. Now it's a matter of remembering who the enemy is, but yet not thinking of it in terms of an enemy, right? Without the
Exactly.
anger,
Yeah.
without the judgment. Hey, it's just a game. This is a move they
Just
made. Now
taking,
what? Yep.
yep,
Now what
taking the
move are we going
awareness,
to?
knowing to follow the truth. Yes. Right. And coming together in that unity, in that harmony together, seeing that together we can be better.
Right,
Yes.
right. So if
And what
everyone,
new are we creating, right? Together. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
absolutely. So it's just a matter of everyone kind of going, stop, stop. You know, stop with all the fighting and stop with all the separating and stop with all the opinions and let it all go. Come to our hearts and what can we do for each other? Because that's how we can turn all of this around is through remembering our hearts, which is the feminine side, and taking positive action to help each other. I've been in this conscious thing those last few days, especially, an extra smile to someone. Stop and ask someone if they need help carrying something. I had a man at the airport on my way back from Mexico. I had just a small flight of stairs and I had my little suitcase with me. And he'd made it to the bottom of the flight and he came all the way up and said, "Here, can I carry that for you?" And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all that's going on in the world right now, and someone cared enough to stop and come back up the steps and ask me. I had tears after that, and I
Isn't
didn't honestly need the help, but it was that compassion and the caring that made all the difference.
you received? I love that. And if we're in so much anger and so distracted, ego stuff, we're not going to see the opportunities and the goodness there, right? And what comes to mind
Absolutely.
is if somebody's feeling really triggered, can we stop with and look and be with that emotion yourself and go in and go, what is it I'm most afraid of? What
Right.
is it? And especially what is it that I'm needing? Am I aware? Do I need to be heard? Do I need to be, am I feeling separate? What's the fear? What is it I'm needing? And let's give to ourselves so that we can be in that more balanced, compassionate awareness to offer that kind arm, hand, word, action to
Right.
another.
Right, right. And I'm not saying, even suggesting that people aren't going to be triggered on this. Chances are it's going to
Yeah.
trigger a lot of people. And so
Mhm.
maybe you just got to take that excited, anxious, anger, whatever it is, and go beat it out on your pillow on your bed or
Right.
scream it out or whatever,
Mhm. Mhm.
instead of projecting it
Mhm.
out into social media land or your neighbors or your your kids or kicking your dog or whatever, right?
Right, yes, to express an emotion in a safe space so it doesn't come out sideways, hurting somebody we really care about.
Right, right. And then
Mhm.
taking that energy and doing something positive with it,
Yeah.
helping someone, paying it forward.
Mhm.
There's just so many
Mhm.
ways, and I've been getting so much joy lately seeing I get something called the nice news. And the nice news comes in my inbox every morning, and there's usually an article about someone, flying rescue dogs to their owners
Mhm.
using his airplane to do that, or it's, a couple in Colorado have this big porta potty, van they're driving around and giving free showers and bathroom usage to homeless people, and someone else mowing someone's lawn for them. And can you imagine what this world will be if we just shut off the TV and walked out the doors and started helping our neighbors and just forget about our belief systems and forget about our opinions and politics and religion and all that and just remember that we're all one. We're all here
Yeah, we
together. We're
are.
all in this together. We've all had a lot going on these past few years, right?
Yes, we're all riding quite a wave and ups and downs and changes, and it does shake the status quo. The ego wants to flare and control and keep us safe, right?
Yeah,
And have mercy on ourselves, and and taking that extra self-love
right,
toward ourselves will be reflected outwards. Mhm.
right, right. And the part of this that really makes me smile is that if we all did come together in service and helped each other,
Mhm.
that's actually the energy that cradles the kundalini energy. That's the energy of
Mhm.
the first chakra. That's the area
Yes.
where if you feel safe to be the truth of who you are, the kundalini
Mhm.
energy activates, and that's the masculine and feminine energy in perfect balance that rises up. And if
Yep.
everyone were to do that, the world would change like this.
Yes.
But
Yes.
that energy is literally being slipped out from under people through the feeling that I'm not safe, right? I'm not safe.
Mhm.
So people
Mhm.
are
Mhm.
literally reacting out of safety. They don't
Right.
safety
And
for
media
housing.
promotes that.
Exactly.
Right? Media promotes that. They want, I mean, the powers that be behind it all want to keep promoting that so you stay in that fear state. Mhm.
Right. Because if you get out of that fear state and we start activating our kundalini and we start going and serving one another, which does that, and we all rise up and
Mhm.
remember who we are, that we're in our power, and they don't want that.
Yeah. No, powers that be do not want that. Us in our full empowerment.
Empowerment.
Right.
So right. So get out there and help, serve in any way you can. And if you're that and I know there's the space because I was there where you were the out of balance feminine who gave and gave and gave and gave. And you're like, okay, now I got to serve and I got to give more. Right.
Oof.
Right.
Right.
So give to yourself. Right.
That's it. That's it. What is it that you really need? What would be nurturing, nourishing, self-affirming, forgiving? What would what would do that for you? And yeah, I mean, just coming out and knowing, taking time to do that for ourselves can be very strange when we haven't been in that space.
Right.
And takes practice. And then once we really start owning it, ho, ho, ho.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So give to yourself, and then in the giving outward can just be a smile. It can be
Right.
something simple.
A very kind word, right? Oh
Mhm,
my gosh, what that can do for somebody. You're in the grocery
mhm.
store or yes,
A compliment,
I know.
right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I know it makes my day. I would think it will for others, right?
Absolutely. Right? It took that man that offered to carry my suitcase. It took
Yeah. Yeah.
all of 30 seconds for him to do that, and I walked
Right.
away in tears feeling great. No, I'm
Mm.
still carrying the story of it, right?
Yes. Yes. Look how it's,
Almost a
yeah.
week days later,
So- right.
right? So
Right.
imagine the ripple
Oh.
effects of that if we all started doing that.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Stepping away from the contentious and distractions, a lot of distraction energy.
Right, right. Shutting the social media down, shutting the TV off, remembering our fellow humans and remembering
Mhm.
our
Mhm.
hearts and changing this all through unconditional love.
And the new is being rebuilt, recreated,
Right.
reformed.
And it's the
Absolutely.
perfect
Yes.
time to start this. We're in a new moon. Let's start this anew.
It is. It is. New cycles. Absolutely. Um, so I pulled a card from the Elfin Quest. Okay. And
Okay.
there's a sigil and an angel god there. Eskahut Misbarak is the angel god that goes with that sigil, that energy. You may feel the energy there. And the message I asked for this group tonight, for all of us, says, may the desires of your heart be your wings rather than your roots. They lead you through emotions rather than bind you through needs.
Read that one more time. I'm liking the wings
Mm-hmm.
of the heart. We're in this butterfly
Right.
energy, right? In the heart of the Mary
This,
or the
right. May the
feminine.
desires of your heart be your wings rather than your roots. They lead you through emotions rather than bind you through needs. So often if we're in this, I gotta need, it's a push energy, right?
Right.
So it's more, you're more, okay, through the emotions, we're in the flow, we're in the divine essence.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, I like that. And if you don't all know this, right now this new moon has brought up a massive rebirth for people. So we are literally in the moment of the butterfly emerging. So and I it reminds me too, like the cocoon where the butterfly is has to feel safe to come out and express into the world, right? And this whole ruling too is about the womb and the baby coming out. Similar, I need to reflect on that a little bit more, but
Yeah, interesting, right. And like a butterfly, you can't force it or push that. It's such a natural evolutionary process, knowing
Mhm.
it's timing, it's when it's perfectly ready. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, some interesting parallels there to look at.
right. Okay, I've got a cards of clarity. This is funny. It's Yeshua.
Wow. Oh, balanced love, isn't that?
Yeshua. I was thinking, we might get the Mary Trinity today.
Oh,
No, we got Yeshua. But I think it's the
oh.
balance of the masculine. I
But
think, isn't that
I was going to
Yeshua?
say, wasn't he? Yeah, he came as a masculine, but very balanced energy.
Very okay. Love without balance often leaves one feeling depleted and hollow. Gentleness and kindness without love are felt as obligatory and burdened. Look deeply into your
Mm.
life and call forth your divine gentleness into balance. To walk in the world, oh my goodness. This is just, it's tearing me up a little bit that, like, literally, Yeshua's here saying, let me help you with this. Let me help offer this to you all.
Yeah.
To walk in the world as the master invokes a great duty that comes only from a space of balanced energy. This does not invite judgment, rather, the recognition that sometimes a firm and loving presence is perfect. When you interact with anyone or anything with intentional, balanced kindness, then you offer yourself as a model of love without judgments or limits. To all situations, remain focused on this divine knowing that your firm commitment to the truth of all situations will in all ways keep perspective and balance as the key focus, and misunderstanding is not possible.
Wow. So perfect. So perfect. Yep. That's sitting at that table is all the masters.
Absolutely. Okay, well, do you have anything else for us, Patty?
Nothing is coming to my mind. I think
Okay.
we touched on a few aspects of that. Any other questions? No phone call? You check that call board?
I will take a peek at the call board. I don't see anything. So I just want to plug in a little reminder here. So for all of you out there that feel that you are lineage holders, we are getting together July 13th and July 28th for a very important time jump lineage holder gathering to assist to shift the potentiality that we are in right now. And so we're all being called. We're looking for 1,000 points of light. I will put the link below in this video. So if you feel called, please join us. We need 1,000 people, and this is our service to humanity to help bring greater balance.
And you matter. You matter. You make a difference. So join us. It's a beautiful, beautiful time. Every lineage jump I've done has been powerful.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Namaste. Have a great week, everyone. And go out there and do something for someone every day, once a day, one small thing, and even some big things.
Amp up your joy with it. Yes.
Yes.